Ready?
There
Oh,
we live. We are
Maverick,
live.
Hi, buddy.
You're live. Hey guys, we're so pumped about hanging out with y'all tonight. This is the very first time we are doing a live stream with Christina, Sean, and their two obnoxiously adorable puppies, Maverick, who you see here,
Cutest
and
little puppy.
also Nash, who we're hoping will make an appearance. But tonight is all about the Texas freeze. And since we are doing this together, we figured we'd go ahead and do some quick introductions. So if you don't know us, we are Lauren and Daniel, and our channel is Wander Local. And we are all about traveling all over the country in our Airstream and shopping local and promoting local businesses. We've been on the road for about a year and a half, and we have another little wanderer who is going to be joining us. Hopefully not as fluffy as Maverick, and will be a human wanderer.
Hopefully
in
lots of
May.
hair though, like it's daddy. So we'll see.
So, Christina, tell us about y'all and your channel.
So we have a channel called Paws for Love, and we actually have been RVing for probably like a few months less than you guys. We started November 2020, and we got into RVing because we wanted to travel the country and volunteer with Nash, who's a therapy dog. So that's how we got into RVing, and we honestly spent all of last year traveling 30 states or so.
Almost 20,000 miles total is what we ended up doing.
Yeah,
which is
so
wild.
we went into traveled and volunteered so much with Nash, and went into schools, fire stations, police stations, and yeah, we love this life, and we're doing it for a second year. It's a little different this year.
Well, as you can see, 4 more paws. Here's Maverick.
Little puppy.
He has grown so much. We released that video last week, and he was. I mean, we've only had him 3 weeks, so that was fresh in, and now, I mean, he's really starting to grow every week. He's growing.
This is Maverick's first live stream. Is that correct?
Yep. First debut.
And it's funny because we're talking about something that he wasn't even like alive for. So,
well, it's so much fun because we actually met Christina and Sean literally 3 weeks ago when you guys got Maverick, and we were in Auburndale, Florida, which we're from Florida and don't even know where that is. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
But there's a really cool campground out there that has been completely redone recently. It's called Margaritaville. If you have not been or heard about it, it's really definitely worth the time to go check it out, even if it is in the middle of nowhere, Florida, because it's beautiful.
No. Yes, it doesn't matter if it's not anywhere. It's a destination resort.
It totally is. And speaking of destinations, Sean, you just brought up something that was similar to one of our statistics. You guys have hit around 30 states. We've also hit around 30 states. Unfortunately, we're not good planners, and our trajectory took us 30,000 miles as opposed to 20,000 like you guys.
That is bad.
I just realized that we traveled 10,000 miles to hit the same number of states. Our map looks like our travels look like a spaghetti map.
That's true.
As opposed to yours is probably a little more strategic. That's what that tells me.
Well, yeah, minus we went out to Montana, all the way back to Tennessee, and then
back to Indiana.
Oh yeah, well back to Indiana, then down to Tennessee,
then out to Utah,
and then to Utah. So we did some boomerang stuff this year, which that really, I mean, those were 1,800 miles each way.
That makes it sound even worse.
It was terrible.
It was a lot of driving.
Yeah. So we've got a few people joining us today. We've got Paul coming in here. Deanna Johnson is chiming in. The Wads.
Hey guys.
Jonathan's here. Hey Jonathan.
Yes.
And Veronica. Hey Veronica.
Yeah. Triad Expeditions is joining us. Aaron, our friend from Texas, who has given us their 411 on everything that we needed to do to fix what happened in Texas, which has been absolutely amazing. So I know Aaron's super excited about this episode. Christina as well.
Welcome.
Oh my gosh, Amanda is on. Hey, Amanda. I love this. I literally love when people invest so much in you. If we run off, we're potty training.
Yeah, he's in potty training mode. He's good right now, but
he's like inching his way closer to the door, but he's just napping. I love it when Renee is on. I love it when people invest so much into you and comment on all of your videos, and then join you for stuff like this. Like, oh, it just makes me feel so
Come
loved.
here, you got to say hi. Hey,
yeah. So real.
Yeah.
So real.
This is absolutely one of our favorite things ever to do. We've got Mike and FEMA and Elizabeth and John Scholler chiming in from West Palm Beach, where it is sunny
and beautiful.
Unlike how it was in Texas last year.
True. Thanks, Alex.
We've got a super chat coming in here from the Wads family. The Wads who give us a hard time every time we don't have our 2 flamingos in the video. We have 2 flamingos. We don't have pets, but we do have 2 pet flamingos that we call Lois and Clark.
That's very
that make a cameo. So thank you, the Wads, by Gallon on me. Yeah.
Oh, FEMA asked the same question I asked. Yeah. Where is Nash?
There he is. He woke up. He was sleeping before.
He had to be driving plates.
Oh my goodness.
So freaking adorable.
You've got Logan and Mary from joining us from Jacksonville Beach.
Thanks for coming to hang out, y'all.
Mr. Null, thank you so much. You're chiming in from Dominican Republic. Oh my gosh. So our friend Mr. Null is from Canada. And we gave a special shout out. We were doing in a Tampa RV show and we were visiting the Newmar units. He kind of like said, make sure you go check out the Newmar units. We're at the show. So we definitely did.
It was great.
It was great. Yeah.
So the reason we are all here tonight is because when we met Christina and Sean at the Margaritaville campground, we started having some conversations and realized that not only were they in Texas at the same time that we were, but also that they shot a video, which I have to say is way more fun than ours because of all the puppy joy is incorporated into yours. But that our videos were sharing tons of like views back and forth from each other. Yeah. And that it was like literally a week before it had been our 1-year anniversary of this mad, insane story.
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty wild because we were just hanging out for dinner and I had mentioned something about Texas. I can't remember what it was. And then I remember thinking like there was this one video because on the analytics, you can see other videos that recommend or that are recommended by YouTube to watch your video. And I remember your title and I remember everything about it. And then we connected the dots and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too small of a world. It's so funny.
It really was. And it's so funny. I feel like anybody who does the YouTube thing has one video that seems to
just go viral. I mean, literally, I think combined, we've hit hundreds of thousands of people between just those 2 videos.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that is amazing.
But I don't think anybody watched it because of our mad winter camping skills.
Oh,
no.
Definitely not.
No. Right.
I know why they watched it. They watched it to give us advice on how to camp better.
Exactly,
in the
which we needed it.
Yeah, we did not.
We did too.
Exactly.
We did too.
We've got Deanna joining us here from Texas as well, who I'm sure experienced a lot of that. I mean, it was, and we've got Brian here, Canadians in Alabama. Yeah, so Canadians, I mean, let me tell you, the Canadians had all of the feedback.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, that's what was wild is we grew up in Indiana. I saw somebody was here from Northwest Indiana. So Christina grew up in Valparaiso, which is up in the northwest corner. And then I grew up just north of Indianapolis in a town called Noblesville. And we know winter. You know, we had snow. It was freezing below 0, all that stuff. But when you're not used to how an RV works and specifically, you know, the pipe situation and power not being there, and we didn't have a generator at that time, and it just, you know, everything got piled on all at once, and we were like 4 months into our full-time.
No, we were like
6 months.
We were like 3 months.
3 months into our full-time RV experience. So it's like it was challenging, but what was awesome is we learned every system in this RV and how it works.
Which I love because in your guys' video you said too, you're like, we literally are learning so fast. And it's true because you're forced into it. And everybody at that point, everybody was helping everybody. And it was just sad and sweet all at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, some people learn by fire. We learn by ice, right?
I like that. That's really creative.
Yes.
So let's talk about what led you guys maybe to Texas. Like, where were you coming from? Where were you going? What was kind of like the plan, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of ironic, honestly, because we were up in Iowa for Thanksgiving. We have some family that lives there. And then we wrapped our RV with the Paws for Love branding and all of that up there. And we had been out of the shop that we wrapped it in for 2 nights. And the first night it got down to like 15 degrees, but nothing had frozen because it didn't have enough time. And that's the thing that we learned, exactly how long it takes for everything to freeze. And then by day 2, we were frozen. So we honestly looked at the map and we knew we were going to go to Houston to kick off the tour, but we ended up leaving a little bit earlier. And just like, it was an 18-hour drive, and we looked at the map and we said, how fast can we get there? And we did end up staying overnight. I don't remember where that was. Somewhere in Oklahoma in a hotel, because everything was still frozen.
That's right.
And then we didn't unthaw until or thaw out until Dallas. So it took that far of a drive to thaw our pipes to be able to use the RV. And then we got to Houston, and we were in Houston for about 7 weeks. And then that's when we headed to San Antonio after that. And then that's when we got into the fun. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
so
goodness.
y'all had already frozen your pipes like day one.
Yeah, we did.
There were and when you're a new RVer, you like don't know so much. And so Sean and I are looking at each other
like,
and we're
what
like,
happened? What's freezing?
What's freezing? And we broke our RV before we even got a chance to use it.
We were so scared.
So scared. And we just it was the worst feeling.
This is a really good comment coming in from Bonnie and Brendan. They also YouTube and do some RVing as well. And somebody told them their RV was winterized when they bought it, so they didn't have to worry about anything when it got cold. That's pretty funny,
epic.
Right?
That is like, epic.
The things you learn as you're RVing, right? But when you first start out, it all seems so foreign.
Oh, yes. Well, we said, so thankfully we were at least a little bit further into our journey than y'all were. So we had the Airstream unit that the Airstream
it was like a loaner unit.
Media unit for 3 months. And then we came back to Tampa Bay to pick up our unit. And
we just got, how long did we
picked it up? Maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but there was a gap. So like anybody who has bought an Airstream in the last couple of years knows, like the delays on actually getting them when they're supposed to come in is like a non-thing. So we had at least 4 weeks between our last adventure where we dropped off the media unit and picked up the new one. And so I feel like everything that we had learned in those 3 months like
disappeared.
Yeah.
No, seriously, like 4 weeks of camping. When I went to, honest to God, even when I went to go hook up, I'm like, where do the chains go?
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of like when you're at a campground for a very long period of time and you go to tow, you're like,
it's a little scary.
I've been at the campground a long time and it feels uncomfortable towing again, you know?
But I mean, we got to Texas. We went to Galveston, which is on the East Coast, because my little sister lives really close to there and we were going to visit them. And we got there, the weather was beautiful. We spent even a day on the beach with my niece and nephew. Like, I mean, it was gorgeous.
Playing in the sand. It was 70s or something. I don't know.
And when we were supposed to leave, that's when we started. It was the day we were going to leave the next day, right?
Yep.
And we looked at the weather and we were like, we're supposed to go to Austin. And we're like,
we're supposed to go to Austin too.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're like, so.
But Austin was like going to be
that looks
8
worse.
degrees or something, you know?
Yeah.
And then Daniel's brother sent us a video.
I don't know if you guys saw that, but we were going to hook up and head to Austin that day. And my brother sent me a video of that multi-car pileup on the highway.
Yeah.
We're like, I think 12 people passed away and it was a
terrible
accident. And I told Lauren, I'm like, we're not driving in that. Like, we're staying stationary here. Yeah,
it was crazy. We were watching the same thing, and Dallas got hit first, and they had a lot of the ice. And that's the thing, you know, in the comments, specifically on our video, everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people talked about how, you know, you're in an RV, you can move, you should be prepared. This storm happened, A, so quickly, and B, unexpectedly from what they thought it was going to do, because this isn't atypical for like Oklahoma and North Texas to get this kind of, you know, winter weather. But to dip down as far as it did, especially Galveston Island and down to South Padre and almost, I mean, like into Mexico, like everything was frozen from California to Arizona, and it was just making its way across. And we were the same way. We were looking like, where can we go? If we drive 15 hours, we can get to Arizona, but that was already frozen, so we couldn't go there. If we go east, it's going to take 2 days, but by the time we got to Florida, it was going to catch up with us. And then literally the next day is when everything started, which was much different than what they had expected and much more aggressive.
Well, even we were going back and rewatching our video because I was telling Christina, I was like, I don't think we even watched it after it launched, like up to the point where we edited it and like got it to, we were like so sick of seeing how dumb we looked. We were like, we can't see this video ever again, like never again. So we watched it yesterday. And when we were watching it, we were like, we forgot that it only was supposed to last like 2 days.
Yeah,
yes.
48 hours. And then just kept going and going and going. Like it was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then,
and you know, obviously looking back.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. There's a little bit of delay. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. But, you know, of course, then rewatching it after a year, you realize how much you've learned and grown.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had, you know, there's several lessons from the whole experience. And I think the biggest thing for us was really just around how this RV works. And so I'm not recommending people to go out to sub-zero temperatures to figure out how this stuff like works together. I would say prepare ahead of time and start to learn the RV and the systems and how they function together, because it is very important and it has served us extremely well. So it is definitely an unfortunate circumstance we went through, but we're incredibly grateful for several reasons. One, people died, and this was a really big deal. I know people that weren't there that saw it on the news. It was all over the country, so it was national news, and it was a big deal. The infrastructure was failing. There was no drinking water in a lot of the areas of Texas. Then when there was, it was all boil notice. The food had been run out of the grocery stores. There were like days worth of issues for supply chain. You know, it was just like this compound effect that happened. But my point with that is that the skills that we developed out of it, we're extremely thankful for. And the ability to then troubleshoot this year when things went wrong in the RV, which they did and they do, was awesome, because I knew where some of these systems resided in the RV without taking any course, without learning on YouTube, with like having to do it the School of Hard Knocks way. And it really helped us. And so anyways, in summary, I think for everybody out there, if they're looking for a tip from what we learned, is get to know your systems before you're in a pressure, you know, almost panic situation like that, so that you know how to respond.
I literally love that you said that, but I'm laughing because if this man was not with us, Nash and I would have froze to death because I did not know anything. And Sean is so handy, right? Like you need to be handy RVing. Nash and I were not. And I didn't know. He's like plugging in the truck or plugging the RV into the truck. And I'm like, why are you doing that? He's like, it's so the batteries recharge, because we don't have solar. We don't have a generator. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's really smart. Thank goodness for you. Which, by the way, I totally have to call out our friends Joe and Tara that are watching. No, we will not go back to Texas.
Well, hang on. So we differ a little bit here, because exactly what you said earlier, we were bookended by 80 degrees.
Yeah, 86.
So it was like 86 degrees before all this stuff started. And then literally the day after, it was 80 degrees and the sun came out. There was still snow on the ground, but it was just beautiful. I mean, it was crazy. So I don't know. I wouldn't throw it out the window. I think that.
I love that Christina's like, no.
What are
my butt will only be in Florida or Southern California or Mexico moving forward during the winter months.
Laura talked about how, because it was cold, it was like our cognitive abilities were just decreased. Like the brain was not working, right?
Yeah.
No.
So I'm going to ask you, what's sort of one of the funniest things you look back on and go, gosh, it seems like common sense. For me, it was that after the freeze, our RV neighbor, I told him we had no power and the solar panels weren't working. And he goes, well, why didn't you get up there and wipe the snow off the solar panels so the batteries could charge? And I was
not thought of that. I wouldn't even have thought of that now.
I wouldn't have thought about that either. Wow.
And to be fair, we didn't even have a ladder at that point. So I don't know how the heck we would have gotten on top of the Airstream.
But still.
Cheerleading moves.
Cheerleading skills.
Solar, sun, right? Yeah, I know. It's just
That's
like
funny.
one of those things. But did you have anything where you're looking back and you were just like, maybe because it was like cold or my brain wasn't firing all cylinders, that I don't know, any mistakes or things you look back on today
I mean, there's a few. I think the most silly one though, out of all of them, is I was so fired up and excited to make coffee, like the second day when we didn't have power, and I went and took it out to the truck because I was like, oh, we've got that prong outlet in the dash of the truck. I'm like, I'm just gonna plug in the coffee maker and we're gonna have hot coffee. We haven't had coffee in a day or a day and a half or something. And I get out there and it's super early. It's like 4 a.m. And I plug it in and I hit go and the blue light's on and I'm like super excited and then it clicks off. And it's like, of course, that's not going to work because the amp that it draws is way higher. It'd be like trying to run a space heater on that thing. But yeah, that was one of those definitely diminished cognitive abilities because of how cold and early in the morning that was.
Yep, real. Okay, so Tara and Joe asked from World Share, do you feel prepared to winter RV now?
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll answer first, only because we're pretty excited. This next winter, we're actually going to do winter outside of Salt Lake City in Park City and do a ski season. So we
remember what I said earlier?
Yeah, we're either.
I really love him.
We did learn a lot, and you know, there's some really cool benefits to doing winter when you do it the right way, and you have like some skirting around the outside so that you can make sure all your stuff underneath is cold. And you know, just different tools that you can use to do that. But that's a time of year where most people are in Florida and Texas. So we're going to have some awesome RV resorts that we can be at and some front row skiing, which is really exciting. So.
Okay. Well, that's very ambitious.
I literally, like, when he was like, we should do Utah, I'm like, that's sweet. I don't really want to do that during winter, but you know what? This is the beauty of this lifestyle, is that you can do anything that you want. And if that's what he wants to do one winter, why the heck not?
Yeah.
So skiing. And honestly, if anybody has seen our video with Nash, he was meant to be in the snow.
He loves snow.
When we went to pick up Maverick, it was like 10 degrees in Indiana. And he loves it. He loves being cold. So I think Maverick will probably be the same. So I'm the odd man out. So
Susan wants to know how Maverick and Nash are doing.
They are loving each other. I wish we could turn this around, but they're both crashed out at our feet right now. So they've gone through a couple phases. So Nash definitely loves his quiet time in the morning. He likes to sleep in.
Which is how we are.
Yeah, like we definitely have a slower morning routine. We do some devotionals in the morning. We drink our coffee, which Elizabeth, I love your comment. That's so funny. We didn't even notice that until after we edited the video, but we should have been more clear because we don't like super hot coffee. It hurts our teeth. So we put ice in our coffee to cool it down. Not iced coffee, though. It's just like kind of lukewarm coffee. But we did that in the video, and everybody's like, guys, it's freezing outside. You wanted hot coffee. Why are you putting ice in there? Anyways, it was so funny.
Just a dash of ice.
But Nash really likes that routine. And so Maverick is obviously a ball of energy right now. So first thing in the morning, he wants to run and just have a good time. And Nash is wanting his sleep. So they've had a little adjustment period. But overall, they really love each other.
But we really do. I mean, one thing about Nash, he is not going to correct him or tell him if he doesn't want to do something. So I'll like sit on the floor and play with them in the morning, and I'll kind of like pull Maverick away from him when he's trying to sleep, and I'll play with him. But it's really sweet.
We got to get Maverick back here.
Poor baby. But
our friend John is a really good friend of ours who's following along, who says that we should have no fear and just like go back and conquer it. John is from Connecticut, so he's also used to snow.
Truth.
And I think at some point we're going to have to go back and try to like test all of our newly acquired knowledge of cold weather camping. I think that we have learned so much, and we're so much better prepared.
Well, I think the lesson that we learned, I will totally agree with you, Sean. We learned so much about our Airstream so fast. Like, it's been such helpful information.
Yeah.
But I think what we learned and what we took away from it was that, like, RV life is for chasing good weather.
Yes. 70s.
Right.
So, like, we recently were in Nashville, and we stayed there for December to spend some time with my family before coming down here to Florida to see the Tampa RV show. And as soon as we heard the snow was coming, we were like,
yeah, we're out.
Oh, in Nashville? Yeah. It was going to snow that day at 5 p.m. and we were gone by 11. Like, we weren't messing around. We hooked up and we were gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was funny too, because when we went out west, when we were in like Wyoming, kind of southeast Montana, a little bit of Idaho, there's a lot of outdoor work out there. So a lot of construction, some oil field work, just a lot of jobs where there's not housing, so they bring their RVs in, and you could tell as we were leaving, everybody's getting buckled down for the winter, and they're setting up their skirting, and they've got the huge, like, I don't even know how many pounds those propane tanks are, but like the big 200-pound propane tanks that are, you know, permanently hooked up to the RV. And that, you know, that gave us some confidence. But I think exactly to your point, they are definitely designed for warmer weather. But that's where I'm personally excited. I know she's coming around. I think we are excited about it. But if you have something functional that's really cool to do, like skiing, then it should be just another exciting adventure, I'm hoping.
Right.
We've seen tons of people do it on YouTube. And like the idea of getting out of your RV in the morning and skiing out your front door is wicked cool. Like,
I think the commonality is that they all have power.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You take
and
water, and it's a different game.
Absolutely.
Well, so y'all didn't have generators, and we were too dumb to fill ours up in advance.
You just forgot. It's okay.
Well, so did you guys end up purchasing generators after this crazy adventure?
No, we still haven't.
Well, no. and let me say this: we do not boondock, so we do not have. And I mean, with an asterisk. Oh wow, Maverick's hair just like came.
He's shedding a little bit.
Wow. We don't boondock. So I mean, where we go, like, because of the way that we traveled last year, we were always volunteering and stuff, so we didn't boondock, and there was no point in us doing that. And we have a lot of event gear with us that we set up when we do meetups and stuff, so honestly we don't have room for it. And we're like, even if we're going to use it 1 or 2 times, we were like, we'd rather just suffer, so we don't have one. We will in our next rig though.
I mean, they take up a lot of space.
They do.
So.
We've got a very special question coming in from a 9-year-old, Anna, here for you guys.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So my 9-year-old daughter, Anna, wants to know if there will be anything done differently in the way you train Maverick as opposed to Nash. The short answer, first of all, great question. The short answer is yes. We learned a lot with Nash. And just like with kids and with people, every person's different. And Maverick is so different. There he is. Than Nash was. And so Nash, just, you know, quickly, Nash was very stubborn. So he had to be trained a very specific way to learn certain things like sit and down and quiet, those sort of things.
He's looking at you. Nash is looking at you.
Maverick is much softer. He's a little sweetheart. I mean, you can totally see it here, but you don't have to correct him much. And he's getting things very, very quickly. But he has one issue that we're really working through, and it's hard because we're losing a lot of sleep over it. He's got some separation anxiety. So when we haven't been able to crate train him yet, I mean, we're going on, 3.5 weeks that we've had him?
Tuesday will be 3 weeks.
3 weeks? 3 weeks that we've had him. It feels like 4 weeks, but he hasn't gotten it yet. So we're really focused in on that with him and trying to do different exercises throughout the day. But you just have to learn the puppy. You know, you have to figure out what they need, how to support them, because they will turn into great dogs. And that's what we keep telling ourselves is like, Maverick's going to be such a good dog. We just have to get through this little phase right now.
One thing I've heard, because I privately spoke to Maverick, is that he's a little bit jealous that Nash has gotten to play in the snow.
Yeah.
So...
let's just focus on the fact that Nash has had so many more life experiences. Yeah. He just walked over to his toy bin and went to get a toy and just fell over.
He's too tired.
Anyway, back to Texas.
Back to Texas. Well, that was one of my questions. Like I mentioned before, like getting to see Nash's joy in the snow is like just so heartwarming. So did he ever act like he was cold?
No, not really.
No.
I mean, he likes colder weather, honestly. Like he struggles with the heat. So when we were in Montana this year and it was like, almost 100 degrees, he was definitely not liking that. So I would say if he could pick one and he could tell us, he would say, give me the snow all day long.
Texas storm all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were like, everybody was worried, and Nash was like, keep it
He's
coming.
like, come on, let's go.
This is great.
Mike is saying that snowmobiling is so much fun in the winter. We have not done that, but that is definitely on our list. Have you guys done that before?
No, I haven't. I've always wanted to, but it does look like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Susan wants to know how you're feeling.
Oh, hi, Susan. I'm feeling great. We've had a really good week. This week is actually week 26 in baby Fernandez's growth, which is crazy. Makes next week officially our 3rd trimester.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's going by at like the speed of light, but I feel great. Nothing really to report.
No,
Have you gotten your like crib for the Airstream yet, or like what you're going to be using?
We did. We decided on a. See, I don't know anything about babies at all. I'm one of those people that kind of like.
He's learning.
I'm learning, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I've my entire life, and I've learned absolutely nothing about children, and I feel very novice. So I'm like, we need one of those things where the babies sleep, and like Lauren's like, do you mean a bassinet? And I'm like,
yeah, that thing.
Like. Bassinet.
He's learning all the things: bassinet, cradle, baby bed, crib. Like he's really concerned about why the English language names this one thing so many different names.
A bed, right? I don't know, but it's a bed for somebody a little bit smaller. I don't know.
Thing. You call it baby bed.
The baby bed.
That's what I was calling it.
We ordered a baby bed. It is a bassinet, and we're gonna have it in the Airstream. We ordered that, and then we also ordered our stroller and car seat this week. So we're feeling like
accomplished.
It's real.
You guys, minimalist baby Airstream live-ins coming in hot. I can't wait.
I know.
Well, we're really excited. Our friends, I don't know if y'all have seen this episode or not. I know, Christina, I showed you my amazing refrigerator when y'all came over to visit. So our friends from Lily's organizing, CMR and Frank, they're going to be here in Tampa Bay this coming week. So they're coming to help us reorganize again for baby Fernandez, which we're really excited about.
And Cece is a straight shooter, so she's going to definitely call me out on having too many shoes. I already know what's coming. It's going to break my heart, but
real.
I won't turn her loose on my closet. I get yelled at all the time by her about having too many polos.
Double the clothes that I do.
So let me ask you this question. Is there anything that you didn't get footage of, that didn't make it in your video, that you sort of reflect back on, that you'd want to share?
Ooh, that is a good question. So very honestly, we were rolling almost the whole time. Like our thought was, you know what, if we're going to go through this pain, we're going to have fun with it.
Well, you almost didn't. You're like, Sean, I remember waking up because similar to you guys, we woke up that first morning that it hit, and our propane didn't switch over. Like we ran out of propane, so we woke up and it was like 48 degrees.
So cold.
But he like I remember him walking out the door and being like, do we record this?
Yeah, like, is this really, like, are people gonna care?
And I literally go, honey, if we record this, we will not have an episode this week. So press the record.
Yeah. So I mean, we were rolling the whole time. I think one thing that I can think of offhand, it was kind of like a sequence of events that happened. So it was towards the tail end of it. We were on day like 5, I think it was. All the propane in the area ran out.
Yes.
And then I kind of was hunting down for it. And then I went back to Walmart because I'd heard that they got a delivery that the National Guard had brought in bottled water. And that was already gone. So I had then gone back out to find propane and water. And it was like, you know, you're already 5 days into this thing. We're tired. We hadn't showered. We were eating, but it was like crap. You know, we had bagel bites, and even though I loved them,
Lauren, I saw that grocery
you weren't suffering. I will say that. Sean.
I wasn't talking with you guys and go to the organic produce section. I'm just saying.
I mean, it was good. Like, hey, day 1, day 2, I was on cloud 9. I felt like I was in my bachelor days again. It was amazing. But then your body is just like, bro, after 4 days of that, I'm ready to I'm ready to call it good.
Yeah,
so
no, it's terrible.
anyways, we were just like really at the tail end of it, and it was just really, I think it was a good moment that should have been in there just to show the level of exhaustion we really had from this, and how much this wasn't just some RVers not being prepared, getting caught in a storm. This was like infrastructure in Texas had desperately failed its residents. And the water situation was really, really bad, and people were legitimately dying because they didn't have access to water and they were freezing to death. And so that we didn't catch enough of that tail end of it because we were just kind of ready to be done. And then we cut at the end of the video to the next morning when we were leaving and, you know, headed out to Austin. But that's my big regret. But I mean, how about you guys? Like, I know I love the way that you styled it too, where it was kind of like a recap and you were, you know, doing a lot of voiceover, which is really cool.
I think one thing that most of the comments implies that we did no preparing, but we actually shot an entire video of preparing that no one has seen. Yeah, I know. So like the one viral of us being looking like we were unprepared.
Well, I mean, we didn't say we prepared with skill.
Well, no.
Like, we thought we were preparing.
Like disconnecting your water hose preparing. Like it wasn't like level preparing. Yeah. But I think personally, and that's another video that probably no one is, it's like not as many views. But I think the one thing I regret was that because honest to God, I was tired and I was too cold to even hold the camera outside because my fingers were frozen and my gloves were cold. But the day when the entire the beach was absolutely covered in snow, like thick snow. It rolled right into the ocean with the waves, and it was steaming looking. Like the ocean was steaming. And I'd never seen anything like that in my entire life. And it was like the ocean was like trying to freeze over, but the water's obviously too warm. Wow. And it was the craziest thing ever. But I didn't get any footage of that, and I regret that.
Wow. Yeah, that is cool. That's, I mean, once in a lifetime, I would say. That's really cool.
That is cool. But you're like, maybe not again.
Maybe not. Susan has a great question. How close were we to you guys?
I mean, it wasn't.
Showers?
Yeah, it wasn't very far because I tried calling when it was like day 3. I was like, let's just go to Galveston. Let's go to South Padre. So I'm calling all the resorts, and I only ended up getting a hold of one because all their phone lines were down. And the lady, she was so nice, but she was kind of laughing. She's like, you know, it's down here too. And I was like, no, I didn't realize it was down there too. I thought we'd be a little bit warmer, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Did you guys run into the same situation where, because a lot of people would say just run to the hotel, but the hotels had no power either. So they were.
Yeah. I ended up driving to one. It was kind of sketchy. All the freeways were still closed. They literally had police officers blocking off the entries, the on-ramps. But I found some back roads, and I ended up going to, I think it was like a Sheridan or something in San Antonio. And it looked like a war zone. I mean, like there were more cars than there were hotel rooms. People were trying to get in because that was the only hotel on that northwest corner of town that was open. But yeah, all the lines were down. I got a hold of one hotel, but it ended up being someone's room because the switchboard was down. So this lady answers, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm staying here. I'm in a room." And it was so wild. But yeah, you couldn't. I mean, the hotels were all booked.
Well, one thing too, like you guys, I mean, you had your sister, we had Sean's cousin that was like 15 minutes away from us. And they were like, why don't you guys come over here? And we're like, but they were in the same situation. They didn't have power. They didn't have water. And we were like, we love you guys for offering, but if something happens, like we need to be here. Because every second, Texas was doing those rolling blackouts. Right. And there was a lot of other people that we talked to that had way more electric than we did during that time. But I mean, the power would kick on and we would like blast the space heaters and we would turn on anything that we could or do anything that we could. And sometimes it was literally like 4 minutes and sometimes it was like 45 minutes. Right. Yeah. So we're like, we love you guys, but we like have to stay at the RV because if something goes wrong or if power comes back on, we have to be here. And our family was like, that's silly. Why didn't you go over there? We're like, you just don't understand. Like it was a war zone.
Yeah. Rose was saying that she was in the Austin suburb and they were without power for 4.5 days, water cut, boil notices for days. You guys had boil notices as well, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main issue where we were, which as a side note, definitely not necessarily as a plug, but as a plug because we really loved the management team there and then the property itself. But we were at Alsatian RV Resort, just west of San Antonio in Castroville. And their property is actually attached to a golf course, and that's why a lot of people stay there, because you can golf, and it's a beautiful property. But their water system was tied into the golf course, and the golf course water main had broke. So that's why there was nothing in the water park or the RV park. And then the surrounding area was kind of a similar situation with where those water mains were placed. Most of the residents were out of water from the very beginning of that thing.
Wow. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when we were finally able to leave to get to another spot in Texas, a lot of water lines had been broken, and they were just kind of like daisy chaining the water lines so that everybody can kind of tap into it.
Yep.
Because there's only a few that hadn't burst at a few of the campgrounds that we visited.
Yeah. And you know, it's really interesting because so after this happened, we started looking into more of the preparedness phase of life, and just really looking at things a little bit differently, both from a food storage standpoint and energy management, that sort of thing. But the one thing that's so hard to prepare for is water. You know, like you could do everything right, but you eliminate water, and that's what was so scary about Texas for everybody involved, was water. And we've done a fast before where you've removed food from your body, and you can go days without food, but you can't do that with water.
No.
And so as RVers, you know, we're heavy. The water's heavy. It's hard to transport a significant amount. And then if it's all frozen, you know, you've got issues there. And I know, like, we'll go to some of the comments I know on both of our videos. It's like, well, you had snow outside, just boil that, turn that into water and drink it. Which...
Every time people comment on that, I'm like, Nash was peeing on that. Nash was peeing.
Don't drink it.
I'm kidding. Obviously, like, I would know not to do the yellow stuff, but I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. No Dress Rehearsal is saying it was very difficult. It would have been difficult for anybody, and I'd have to agree, you know. DS Photoscapes, better off in the Texas Panhandle. I guess they were on a different grid and didn't lose power. So that's definitely...
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
That's so interesting.
I don't know about you guys, but we talked to some people, even in our campground, and one of the ladies there, you talked about how people had passed away. She had a newborn, and she said that it had gotten so cold in her camper that she woke up one night and her baby's lips were blue.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it was terrifying. A life-threatening situation, and I don't think a lot of people maybe realize how dangerous of a situation it really was. Yeah. But it was a very, very, very dangerous situation. I mean, I know the night we went to bed where we couldn't figure out how to keep the heater going at all. I mean, it ended up dropping ultimately into the 30s inside here. And I don't necessarily know how low it got, but I mean, I was questioning whether we were going to even wake up at some points, because it was literally like, I figured if the truck shut off in the middle of the night and we had no heat, it drops to 10 and what happens, right? So it was really crazy.
Yeah, we had, I mean, I remember having 4 layers of pants on and probably 5 different sweatshirts that same night, because we were the same way. We were in the low 30s. And it's one of those things that it was just so difficult to deal with, but we knew that so many other people were in such worse situations.
Yeah.
And you know, there was a lot to say too about just where you want to be in an emergency like that. And I'm thankful we were where we were in Castroville and not like downtown San Antonio or close to that, because the gas stations were all out of everything. At least the gas stations out by us, they had fuel. But when I was up at that hotel, like nobody had anything. And I know you guys struggled with that, trying to find stuff for the generator in that populated area. So it's, I guess, pros and cons. Like the infrastructure might not be as good when you go more rural, but you know, in emergency situations, you might be better off.
Yeah.
That's totally reasonable.
We've got Venturesome Couple joining us here. Wanted to say hi. They're joining us from a cruise ship.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Where are they?
Yeah, awesome. I want to know where you guys are cruising to. That's amazing.
That's cool.
We just met them at the.
And were you guys on the Chad and Tara's Changing Lanes with the Hanks? I think I saw you guys on there. We were watching that before we hopped on here too.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah.
They're so sweet. We've had the chance to hang out with them actually twice. Once at the last meetup that we just went to with you guys, and then once before that as well in the Tampa RV show. And they're just the sweetest.
I love I love that they're literally cruising to the Caribbean and we are talking about freezing
our butts off.
Right. Who's jelly right now? I'm jelly.
That is so cool, you guys. Have the best time.
Yeah, that's
cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Kurt is saying, are you ready for a new Texas freeze? No. We would be more prepared though, I think, right?
Definitely.
We would and wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, our setup hasn't changed since then. We still don't have a generator. I know how long it's going to take for everything to freeze, which is about 30 hours from our freshwater tank. If we're below freezing, it'll take about 30 hours to freeze that whole thing. So if we're in a situation again where we can't get out to warmer weather in 30 hours,
we have
freeze-dried
meals though.
We do have, we have freeze-dried food,
we have.
Which is critical in times like this.
Right.
You still need water to reconstitute it. You could eat it dry, but it's going to be a lot better with water.
You know what I think though? We have friends and they did this before this big freeze. Ironically, they were in Texas when this happened, but they keep 2 weeks of water and food on them at any given point. He was in the military, he was a cop, and he's like, they hunt, and he's just like, I will never not have 2 weeks worth of food and water for us. And they RV full time. And I just am so empowered by them that they do that, because all I could think of is Don and Shannon are living the life right now.
Yeah.
That's smart. We haven't done that. Do y'all do that now? Do y'all have?
So we probably have enough to get us like 10 days worth of food.
Yeah.
But
and then we have our dog treats that we could eat. So we've got a few more days of that.
Yeah. Nash and Maverick when hungry. But our water situation, we do not carry water with us anymore because Sean installed like a really incredible water filtration system in our RV. Okay. So we used to go to Walmart and refill their like giant 5-gallon jugs.
We had two of those. Yeah.
But now it just runs through our RV and it's UV filtered and all that. So the water situation, we would not be, if something happened tonight, we would not be.
But that's how you could prepare. You know, if you knew something was coming up, you can go to Walmart or Ace Hardware or something like that and get those 5-gallon blue containers, get them filled up. If you get, 10 gallons of water, that's going to last you 10 to 15 days, being resourceful with it. And I mean, on one person, so you'd have to divide that by 2. But there's things you can definitely do.
There's a question.
So you can either do like the gallons, or which they do gallons usually, but you could do the 5-gallon. I mean, you're not gonna, if you we try to drink a gallon of water a day now. You will not be drinking a gallon of water a day. You'll be rationing yourself a little bit more, but you will also need it to like cook with and stuff. So maybe it goes out or equals out.
I mean, not to be weird, but you also have to use water for other things. So we literally had a gallon of water that we had to put down the toilet to use the bathroom. So it was like we were depleting it there. We were drinking it. We didn't shower with it, but we had to cook with it occasionally as well. So it goes pretty quickly.
You mean you didn't shower through the entire Texas freeze?
I know. I love when you ask Christina that at the end of the video. Like,
what? You weren't taking daily showers?
Y'all, no babies were made during the Texas freeze.
I know. It was funny because everybody on social media, when this was all going on, like that wasn't in Texas, they were like, "Oh man, they're gonna have a baby boom in whatever 9 months." No, absolutely.
You're not. Like, please stay in the other room.
Right.
I can smell you from here. Just kidding. No, we had so many sweatshirts on, you couldn't smell it anyway. It was fine.
It was
sweating.
I think we threw all of our clothes in the bed and just created like a little cocoon. I think that's what we did.
Yeah. I mean, you had to.
Right?
Well, I mean, being from Florida, I mean, because we have now been on the road and been experiencing all 4 seasons for a while now, we have more warm clothes. But I mean, like, you just literally recently got a legit winter coat.
I literally just bought my first winter coat 2 weeks ago. Like, I'm from Florida, right? So when it gets cold, you leave. I mean, that's the normal procedure, right?
So our clothing
has
changed significantly since then. And we have made some changes to our rig. Not any like structural changes, but in like the things that we carry. So like now we always have
emergency blankets.
Yep, we have emergency blankets.
Yep.
We have 2 5-gallon
cans, right? And that was another thing that somebody brought up. Why didn't you just siphon gas from the truck for the generators, right? But the truck is diesel. Generators were not, and that came up often. So we have a diesel can and a regular gas can for the generators.
So we carry those things, which is huge. And then we also now, one of the things that we've laughed about that we were like, why did we not think of this? Is we ran into an issue with all of our locks being frozen.
Oh yeah.
Which was a pain in the butt because we've got this really cool Retrax truck bed cover, but in order to get back to our generators, like we couldn't really it was a whole thing. We couldn't get it open. But the other day when we were watching it, Daniel was like, we could have boiled water.
Just boiled a little bit of water and poured in the lock. You know, but like you look, it's hindsight, right?
Yeah,
like the lock's frozen. We can't get it. We're gonna die. Like it's just all of that goes. Logic goes right out the window when you're freezing and living in a crisis situation.
Well, and we also learned from our comments that like we didn't necessarily have to use the because we have 2 generators and we power them up together.
Oh, parallel
with
kits.
the parallel kit.
Correct.
And that's something that we didn't even know because we'd only used them once. That we could actually just use one of the generators and would have been fine versus needing both of them and like burning through that additional fuel.
Oh yeah.
So that was a really interesting one. And I think we're even considering now that we're like consolidating and trying to get everything as like organized as possible.
Yeah.
Moving to just like one large.
Paul is on here right now. Paul and I have been talking even offline here about generators. And one of the things I would definitely do is I'd probably go with like a dual fuel generator. One that would run off of maybe propane and gas. And Paul, one of my favorite things is they have now a lot of them that come with remote start. So you can actually like start it from inside. So in a freezing situation, you can start your generator inside, which is also amazing as well. So I'm actually on the hunt and probably going to swap out our generator kit for something else.
That's awesome. Not just in freezing situations, because even when you're boondocking and like you never know what like little eyes are going to be looking out at you, and you're like going out in the middle of the night trying to do your generators.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And DS Phone Escapes is saying, like if you're just using if you're not using the AC, you just need really one generator.
Yeah.
But we didn't know any of that stuff back then.
No, we're so clueless.
No, same here. And we had, so our locks were freezing too. I'm really thankful this was totally accidental, but as a pro tip for anybody looking to maybe getting caught in winter weather, go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get a battery powered heat gun. And you can like put that to the lock and it'll open again. Cause our front door latch was frozen shut and it wouldn't like the door wouldn't close. And so I had to get the heat gun out and I put it on there for about, 2 minutes or something. And it was functioning again.
And we have a heat gun because of our wrap.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm saying. It was accidental that we had this, but I used it to do that. I used it to unthaw the water spigot a couple times and just like apply it to the metal part of it to get the water going again. Because usually the water isn't frozen below ground. It's like far below ground. It freezes as it comes up. And then once it hits that spigot, that's the ambient temperature, the air is going to freeze that water. So that's why people wrap it with electrical tape and some heating elements, that sort of thing. But yeah, the heat gun's a really good thing to have on hand. Doesn't take up much space either.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would have never thought of that.
I want to hear some comments or some tips and tricks from the people that are tuning in here. Because I know like TS Photoscape, you said you're just in -2-degree weather. And I know, Paul, you've got a ton of tips as well. Been through some couple. I mean, you lived in Alaska. So, I mean, like, what are some of those like pro tips? Drop them in the comment here. And while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you about something funny. Something else we learned is that in that video, Lauren used to use the term, I guess, we had no power. We had no power, so we couldn't watch TV. So she goes, I guess we're not going to be able to Netflix and chill tonight. We did not know what that meant until that episode.
And all the didn't know either.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
So we were too smelly for Netflix and chilling, but now we
didn't know what it meant. And
again,
Lauren used to drop it all the time in videos, and we learned after that video like what it actually meant. But that was pretty funny. So
that is hilarious.
For people who are tuning in, Netflix and chill is not necessarily.
I don't think anybody else needs an explanation. I think it was just us.
Yeah, I think it's just you guys.
There's so literally not to like. There are so many things that Sean could pull out that I say that I'm like, he's like, do you really know what you're saying?
Oh, actually, I have one. It's really
Really?
good. Yeah. Oh, come on. It's the one that's like the most funny.
What?
So you know how when you say like you're making a decision and you're ready to pull the trigger, right?
Yeah.
So I let her go for the longest time because I was trying to catch her in a funny situation, but it never really happened. But anyways, she would say pull the plug. Instead of saying pull the trigger, she'd say pull the plug. But she thought it was, I don't know. It was just so funny.
People are like taking people off life support all day long. Just
That's it. You're killing it over there. Literally. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I do. So there you go, Lauren. You're
go.
not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
We've got our friends Brazen Brits chiming in over here. Hello, friends.
Yes, they are.
I know.
Oh, okay. So where did we sneak off? So we got the chance to see the Brazen Brits crew this week.
This past weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's yesterday.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a busy week.
Oh my gosh, do you guys feel like it was yesterday, but it feels like a month ago.
So if you are watching this and you also do content creation and you live in an RV or RV on a regular basis, there's a really, really fun Facebook group called RV Content Creators that our friend Joshua runs. And they did a really fun event at this winery just outside of Orlando. And so we got to see the Brazen Brit crew. But it extended past noon, and I have been significantly hungrier than normal lately. And the food that they had did not satisfy what Baby Fernandez was in the mood for. So we had to sneak off and go find food. And we found a really good Mexican restaurant, actually. It was fantastic.
Oh, man. SA Detailer, you changed your name. It used to be San Antonio Detailer. You've got a shorter handle there. I love it, buddy. I have a Honda EU 3000 power home during blackouts. Has a 4-gallon tank. You never had to refill during the freeze.
Wow.
That's legit.
4-gallon tank is awesome because ours only maybe 0.8 gallons. It was a very, very small tank.
Venturesome couple. This is a smart one.
Yeah.
Stop the wind from getting under your trailer.
Yeah. Somebody said take a shovel and shovel the snow around the bottom of your trailer to keep the wind from blowing underneath it. That was, I know, right? Like just use the snow to insulate the bottom of your trailer. Somebody else said if you're near a farm, grab some poo, throw it underneath there as well. Because like I didn't know.
Yeah, that's a lot of poo.
I'm good. I don't want that tip.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
we heard it all. Yeah, they're like a pile of poo underneath the, your RV. It'll keep you warm.
You're like, thank you.
I know.
Well,
I know.
Speaking of good comments, I mean, everybody knows that any YouTube video that has any type of significant viewership gets some crazy comments. So, do y'all have favorites that are memorable for y'all?
I love that you asked that. There, okay, but for real, you're so right because there's. Whew, you don't get a lot of mean comments, but that video.
We had them for sure. I can't think of one in particular. It's really just the theme of like, you're the typical dumb millennial that just is stupid, and there are a handful of those.
You got I know one. I know. I'm there. It is. But it's something along the lines of kind of what Sean was saying, something about how like we're so dumb and we don't know what we're doing and how we need to learn to like that person was like tent camping and could survive in that weather and you don't need electric or all these things. And I replied back and Sean was like, oh, but I was like, it looks like you have access to not only electric, but power and either a laptop or a cell phone. So it looks like you're not living off land yourself there, buddy.
I'm in from the frozen tundra with a space heater and electric and a laptop.
Yeah, I'm like don't throw the dagger too far, okay? Right. What about you guys?
This one right now is one of my favorites. Well, y'all chilled somewhere along the line.
Yes, Susan, that's true. But it was not really Texas freeze.
I thought to myself earlier today, I was like, oh no, that didn't line up about you guys.
Susan, that is golden. I love that.
I love you, Susan. Good. That was so good.
Oh my gosh. Somebody said that they asked their wife if she wanted to go boondocking, and she didn't know what it was, but she thought it was something dirty, so she like slapped her face. And he thought that was the funniest thing ever because he didn't know what boondocking was, and he learned about it from what we were talking about.
Oh, wow.
So then he just turned around and asked his wife, he's like, you want to do some boondocking? And she's like, dirty dog, you. And he told us a whole story about how he like told that to his wife, and we were laughing for days about that.
That's amazing.
That is funny. Gosh, that's what it's all about, you guys. I love that. I love when people share that kind of stuff that you're like, I love that.
Yeah. Jill is chiming in here. 2000 Talon. She is sitting at negative 25 degrees Celsius in Canada.
Ooh, Jill.
What is that in Fahrenheit?
Cold.
0.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's cold degrees.
It's like
it's 2 cold degrees.
Well, 0 Celsius is freezing, so that's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're probably 2 degrees, 3 degrees.
Very, very cold.
I mean, not anything that I want to experience.
Yeah, that's a little too chilly.
There's a really good reason why we're in Florida right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna hit 90s this week too, which is exciting.
Oh,
Yes,
this is
that
a good one from Christina. Put straw bales around.
That's
a really good tip, Christina.
We actually saw somebody do that in Iowa when we were leaving Iowa when we were wrapping our RV.
Yeah.
We were hunkering down for the winter.
Yeah, and we were kind of like, look at these guys, they're doing this. And then I'm like, dude, that was the best idea ever.
Yeah.
John Chalker brings up a really good point here. If you haven't gone over to Paws for Love and subscribed, definitely do that. Spread the love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Subscribe, like, hit the bell, do all the
fun things,
all the YouTube stuff, right?
I mean, basically, what's cuter than puppies and babies?
I know.
Like, between the two of us,
right?
Got it all covered.
Thank you. They said negative 13 degrees Fahrenheit.
There you go.
Negative 13 degrees. Okay, so wow.
Brisk chill in the air.
Wow.
That's super cold, you guys. By the way, thank you for helping me. I don't know Celsius and Fahrenheit conversion, so thank you.
Conversion?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is hilarious, Christina. She said, if you're gonna do the hay bale, just beware cows.
That would be so cute. I love cows.
I would be so happy if that happened.
I would be too. I would welcome that. I would be like, oh, stay a little longer. That's cute.
That's super cute. Where were we? We stayed someplace where we woke up and I popped the window open in our bed because our bed is in the rear of the RV. Where's you guys?
Front. Yeah.
So we popped the window open and I looked out the window in the morning and there was just like a couple of horses staring back at us. And I was like, oh my gosh, wake up, you gotta see this. Like, they're gonna run away and you're gonna like, it was a wide open field, but they just happened to be hanging out right by the fence area where we parked the RV. And they were staring in, and I'm like, "You gotta wake up and see this! You're never gonna believe this."
Oh, it was we got Nash trying to come through.
Oh, hang on. Here, I'm just gonna unplug.
He doesn't understand things like cords pulling the computer off.
Here we are. Here we are.
That's photoscapes. I love cows too. Medium rare.
Oh my gosh,
that's hilarious.
Hi, Lovey.
Oh, and Maverick wants to come too.
Maverick.
Oh wow, you got some cameos here. You got
There
Nash and Maverick making some cameos.
So I don't know if we can really tell because of the lighting, but Maverick is going to be a lot more white than Nash.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
Nash is a little bit more golden, even though they're both English creams.
Oh, do you boys want treats?
Oh my goodness, look at them.
I can't deal with how big Maverick has gotten already.
I know.
Nope.
We're thinking the same thing because we can tell every day or every morning we go to pick him up to take him outside to go potty. He feels heavier, legitimately.
Oh,
well, I mean, his ears are ginormous already.
Okay, Lauren, a couple of days ago, though, his head was smaller and his ears were bigger. And I really think he's grown into his ears in the last, 48 hours. I'm serious.
He's so precious.
Give your butter a kiss.
Oh,
my Deanna, it was so nice to meet y'all, too.
Oh, Deanna's chiming in from Facebook. We got to meet her and her hubby yesterday.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it really is. Like when you guys get to meet people out in the field, in the
real world,
it doesn't feel great. Like, don't you just love it? Like you create these genuine connections, and that's what it's really all about. And you get out there with people.
Well, and it's nice too because honestly, they see our life because we posted it, but we don't get to know them other than through their comments. And it's just really sweet when you get to meet them and actually see them face to face and ask them about their life.
Right.
I love that, because YouTube, I mean, Instagram and Facebook and other social media platforms are really sweet too, but putting your life on YouTube is, I mean, it can be a lot, and it's really sweet when people take the time to actually care about it and invest in you. And, you know, you should like want to be their best friend, because that means so much. It really does. And the YouTube community is super great.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's, you know, you definitely put yourself out there when you're doing this, you know, and you kind of like have to agree to that before you start putting yourself on YouTube, you know. You're trying to put it all out there, and hopefully people like you. And if they don't, it's just you know, like it's something you can do about that. But, you know, when you get to meet people in person, you know, they feel like they genuinely know you already because they've seen you. And then we just want to ask them a million questions because we want to get to know them as much as possible.
Exactly.
Speaking of
like
getting to know, though, this is a good question that I want to know the answer to. What's the best on Nash?
Okay. So
I love that there's such
an awesome question.
I also love that he doesn't do this normally. Sit like this, looking at the screen.
So we had a golden retriever named Bo, and I had him for 9 years. He was 4 when I met you, so you were with him for 5 years, and we lost him unexpectedly. And we were actually planning, like literally the next morning, to take a ski trip to Aspen, Colorado. So that didn't happen. I'll spare the details because she'll start crying and I will too. But after we lost him, over the course of about 2 years, we had the name Aspen in the back of our mind for what we wanted to name the next dog. But then as we got closer and as we put down a deposit to get Nash, I think we were by the pool or something.
Yeah.
And Christina just had the idea for Nash.
Because we love Nashville.
Yeah, it has a big part of our story. We lived there. We got engaged there. Like, there's just a lot more detail to that. But she said that, and I was like, yeah, Nash, that's awesome. And so anyways, that was Nash. And then Maverick, we were going back and forth on a couple names, actually about 3. Tucker.
Okay.
Finn, and then Maverick.
Okay.
And I've always loved Top Gun. It's my favorite movie for sure. It's not that he's necessarily named after Maverick, but I think I just got hooked on that name. I've just always liked it.
It's not named after Maverick.
Yeah, exactly. And we just wanted to have something that we could do one syllable, like Nash. So we've been calling him Mav. Or Mav Man. Sometimes MJ, because his dad's name of all things was named Maverick as well. Crazy. So he's Maverick Jr., MJ.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so cute.
This is a really good question from No Dress Rehearsal. How much dog food do you carry? Like, are you? I'm assuming Nash eats a ton of food, right? And then, you know,
Maverick and Nash actually eat the same amount. They each eat like 2 cups, which now they have their kibble, but hopefully within the next year we're launching a dog treat, or we have a dog treat company, but we're
working on dog food right now.
But now I think, oh my gosh, Nash's is 24 pounds and Maverick's is 18, but they come in really big bags too.
And that lasts what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
No, like a month.
A month. So, I mean, right now we have Nash's stuff squared away. Maverick's is sitting up on the counter in the kitchen right now because we haven't found a place for it.
Yeah.
So we're actively working on that.
You guys will know the pain here. And
organizing for your baby too.
Yeah, exactly.
Send Lily our way.
Yeah.
We've got Nathan Beckfield joining us from Pennsylvania, and Joe wants to know, do you play volleyball? I mean, obviously, if you're a big Top Gun fan.
I mean,
I'm like, I don't get it.
I know that's what he was alluding to.
Yeah,
I knew where he was going with that. I knew exactly where he was going with that.
I don't play volleyball.
Yeah. Specifically beach volleyball. I think that's more relevant.
I played it before, but I don't actively play it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so other Texas Freeze learnings, like, is there anything that we haven't covered that we should not miss?
Well, actually, I have one that I can think of, and that'll be the last one on my end. But it was so amazing to see how resourceful the RV community actually
I love that
is.
you're saying that.
Yeah, like
yes.
You know, the videos are one thing. We would have never suffered in any way because of the people at that RV resort and how incredible they all were. I mean, everybody
People
was helping out.
Generators. People
Yeah,
were offering
doing propane runs for other people.
People were offering their showers. Like
Yeah,
there was a couple of people
really?
that had their stuff didn't freeze, and they were literally offering for people to come and shower at their house, at their RV.
Yeah. So actually, that's kind of 2 answers to your question. I do regret not getting footage of that and showing how amazing this community is, because that was something that was really so evident in our early days of RVing. Is like, oh my gosh, like we don't even know these people, and I know for certain, like we would not die. We would have food. We could get into warmth because there were people that were prepared. The water was still an issue for everybody. That's kind of where the playing field is leveled. But yeah, just overall, the RV community, it never ceases to amaze me. And still to this day, after I don't even know what month on full time we are, like 16 or 17 months. It doesn't change. Like it's still incredibly vibrant and alive and resourceful, and everybody's just so amazing.
I'm really glad you said that, because that's really true. And you guys know, and anybody that's watching that RVs full-time, part-time, whatever, this community is unlike any other. And I think about how like this probably won't be our forever. Like we won't live full-time in an RV forever. We will RV forever, but not full-time. And it makes me really sad to think of the day that comes that we aren't full-time, because the people that we meet and like the commonality that you have, it makes me really sappy, because it's really amazing. There's no community out there like this.
Yeah, I mean, like we talk about that all the time. We learned that so quickly the very first night, because I mean, in similar, y'all hadn't done a lot of RVing before you started. Okay, y'all were zipped too. Okay, I thought that was the case. So when we got to our first RV park, like, we were
overwhelmed. I mean, honestly, right? It's just overwhelming.
Because it was Labor Day weekend and it was at Fort Wilderness in Disney.
Oh my God.
Bumper to bumper traffic.
If anybody has been counting how many times I've said how dumb we are tonight, I feel like it should be a thing.
It was a good week for a maiden voyage.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, bless you.
But like, literally, we couldn't back up the stupid RV into the spot. Like, there's no amount of direction that I was going to give Daniel that was going to be possible.
She's like, this way. And I'm like, what's this way? Is that like, she's like, no, go that way. I'm like, this way or this way? Yeah.
And I was we learned about using passenger side
and driver's
side instead of left and right. But we had like people who came out there, and I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of them had beers and were enjoying like the silliness of the whole thing. But then, you know, somebody actually
bunch of people
jumped in the truck with Daniel and like they parked it together. Like, I mean,
that's crazy.
So awesome. They didn't know us, and you know, but like just so willing to help. And we have had that happen. Oh, thankfully now Daniel does know how to park our Airstream, so we don't have
to have 150 times.
Yeah, we don't have to have anybody park it on a regular basis. But like, just when you need, like, it's.
But I would pay it forward for somebody else. Like if I saw somebody that's struggling, I'm gonna instantly go and try to help them out. And I think that's what people because I know there's a lot of people that are following who are maybe questioning whether they should do it or they have fears about it. The advice that I would give you is that you're not alone when you start this adventure. Like the community, like you're talking about, is there to help.
Yeah,
literally anybody. I mean, I know that I can go walk on our neighbor's door right now and knock on the door, and they'll help us. You know, like and that's anywhere across the country.
Yeah,
in any campground.
Yep, 100%.
So awkward though, because it is like 8:15. So
that's true. That
is true. And the rule is normally not to knock on RVers' doors at night. But
that is true.
Too funny.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of 8:15, I know that Maverick has bedtime.
Yeah,
this is a thing, right?
It is a thing.
It is. We're actually gonna try to keep him awake until like 9, because tonight, if everybody could pray for us and send all of their very good vibes our way, I'm gonna be sleeping on the floor for a second night in a row with him. We're really working hard, you guys.
Okay, so it sounds awful.
I actually
she's sleeping on a 3-inch thick therapeutic dog bed.
I'm sleep. I like
On
that
a
he's trying to like make it sound better. I'm sleeping on Nash's bed. Nash was literally looking for, so he has 2 beds, one in our living room and one in our bedroom. And he was looking to go to his bed last night. And I was like, Nash, I took it. I'm sleeping on your bed. And he was like,
what?
Mom, you're really weird. Why are you sleeping on
I
my
know.
bed?
But
oh, look at that. Susan said she has an Aspen.
oh my gosh.
That's so cool.
Oh, I mean, I love that name.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so we're going to try to keep him awake because he's been asleep this whole time so he can actually sleep in his crate tonight.
That makes sense.
I know. It's so hard.
We're keeping our fingers crossed for y'all, and we're going to enjoy our amazing night's sleep.
Yes.
But we'll be in the same boat as y'all in just a couple months, and so then
we're
going to
flip flop. If we are still on that boat, Maverick is going back to Grandma Connie. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He's learning quick.
He is.
Oh my goodness. Well, this was so much fun. Seriously, we absolutely, I mean, obviously we just adore you guys as human beings, but for the fact that we got to like meet y'all and learn about y'all's Texas adventure as well, this has just been really fun. I hope it's been also.
And likewise. Yeah, we've enjoyed getting to know you guys as well. It's been amazing.
I'm just so excited to like see this next season of life for you guys, and we just love you too. I can't echo that anymore.
Well, I feel like in the near future, after baby Fernanda shows up, we're gonna have to meet up in real life again and have puppy and baby video collaboration, because who doesn't want to see that?
Break the internet.
Yeah, boom. That'll break the internet right there.
Yes.
100%. Kim Kardashian's got nothing on us.
No. 2 goldies and a baby.
All
right, y'all.
Well, have a good night. Ya. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a great week and a good night.
We'll see y'all soon.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Uh-oh.